Hey guys, so the next stop on our trip is what people call Vigeland Park, but what is actually known by the name of Frogner Park. Now, what is interesting about this is that this actually is the biggest park in the world made by a single sculptor. So there's over 200 statues kind of scattered throughout this really large area, and all of them were designed by one single man, Gustav Vigeland. Gustav is one of the most renowned, well, probably the most renowned sculptor of Norway. He was born in 1869, passed away in 1943, and he worked on creating this park for over 40 years. So this is his life work. He designed every single sculpture, and he had help from other masons to complete some of the larger works, like we're gonna see the Monolith, which is sort of the crescendo of the whole park. But what is unique about this park is that the design and the art is like something you have never seen before. It is largely drawn on a popular in Europe at the time art theme of vitalism. So it's sort of venerated what is natural in humans. So the physique, so strong physique, beauty, the natural part of the human being is what vitalism was all about. And that is something that we're gonna see in the sculptures today. Now, what is very unique is that no sculpture is the same, and they all seem to be portraying emotions, human emotions. So as you walk through the park, you can sort of discover what the artist was trying to say, and maybe discover a little bit about yourself as you look at these sculptures, and you start thinking, what kind of emotion was he trying to portray? None of them are named. He actually never named his sculptures, except for the main one, which he called the Monolith. But so it's totally up to you to basically decipher what you're looking at, which I think is a very interesting and cool idea. And guys, something that is very important to know, that this is not just a simple one piece of work. This is Vigeland's life work. So this is something that he spent almost half the century designing and building and laying out. So the whole project has a profound meaning that it had to Gustav. And the interesting thing is when somebody asks him, looking at the Monolith, they ask him, well, what does that mean to you? And according to reports, he said, that is my religion. So really, what we're seeing here is not just a park. It's not just a combination of sculptures. It is the personification, the objectification of Vigeland's personal religion. Now, he was a born Lutheran, so in a very religious family. However, through the years, he had a difficult relationship with his family. His father died young. He was reported to be an alcoholic. His mother also passed away quite early. And Vigeland traveled a lot of the world. He got ideas he traveled in Germany, and he got a lot of Renaissance ideas. He talked to the modern most well-known sculptors and painters and authors at the time. He was actually tutored by Rodin, and so there's a symbiosis of a lot of ideas, and I think that it definitely has shaped the way he saw religion for himself. And I think whatever was the outcome of all these combinations of ideologies and spiritual beliefs has transformed into this park that we are about to see. one interesting point about Gustav is that he wasn't actually born as Gustav Vigeland. His name was Thorson, and then when he moved to live with his grandparents on a farm, the farm was in the city of Vigeland, which is roughly translates to Vikings land. So that's the last name that he then took. And actually his brother Emmanuel Vigeland, that we're gonna see in a little bit here, whose mausoleum we're gonna see in a little bit, also took that last name. So as we're looking through the park, I want you to think about, how does this whole tie in? So how does Vigeland's Christian upbringing tie in with what's supposed to be very modern vitalism movement, but also how does that maybe tie in with his Viking culture? So is there ties to maybe Viking paganism? Are we seeing more of a natural spirituality take on religion? Like, you know, basically, let's think about what Vigeland was trying to say to us, because he's definitely trying to deliver some kind of message in this magnificent, beautiful, humongous park. So let's go take a look. All right, guys, so we're just walking up to the main entrance to the park. The park can really be broken down into 3 areas. The first one is a bridge. Next, it's the Monolith. And then in the end of the line, there is a circle of life and a sundial. So we're gonna see all 3. We're gonna look at some of the more mysterious and interesting parts of the park. Another cool fact is that when you look at the park from Google Maps, from up above, what it looks like is a Christian cross, which is very, very popular. Was when you would build basilicas, you know, that would be made in the shape of a Christian cross. But also, and I haven't read this anywhere, but when I looked at the map, what that reminded me of was actually a Viking sword. And I'll put up the pictures right here, but take a look for yourself. See what you see. Tell me what you see. I'm very curious. Do you see a cross? Do you see a Viking sword? And if it is a Viking sword, what does that tell us? Could it be Vigeland's way of combining the 2 religions? Could it be him saying that his personal religion that he tried to recreate in the park was sort of conglomeration of his Christian upbringing and his more naturalistic, vitalist, maybe ancient Norse kind of mythology upbringing too? Could it be that he combined the 2 and that became his sort of personal religion, and maybe that's what he was trying to portray? I don't know. Perhaps we'll never know the answers to that, but take a look at the map and let me know what you think in the comments below. All right, guys, we're at the entrance to the bridge to the park. Let's go take a look. So right as you walk in, you can see a sculpture of a woman being covered by a lizard. As you can see, the woman is bound by the hands of this lizard, and the lizards, they really represented the evil and demonic powers in this world. So that's perhaps what Gustav was trying to portray here. And if I'm not mistaken, there's another one. There's another statue just like that, and the other entrance. So here we are. That's the second statue, and again, here we see a lizard, now this time battling a man. It appears that a man has a better chance fighting it off. At least it's not bound by it, but sort of maybe pushing it away or strangling it. So I'm not sure what that represents. Why is the woman bound and the man is sort of in the process of fighting it off? But that is the two structures that await us when we enter the Frogner or Vigeland Park. And here begins our journey through the park itself. As you can see, it all begins with the bridge. Now, over the park, you can see, as I mentioned, 200 of these statues, and each one represents a different emotion. None of them have names. However, you get a feeling for what he's trying to represent, but you never have the definitive answer. What is this? Is this compassion? What could this be? I actually have no idea. Here we have a man playing with a girl. So you can see all the structures are naked, and that is no coincidence. By making them naked, the art becomes universal to all of us. There's no divisions between what culture you come from, what do you wear, how you dress, are you poor or rich. Most monuments are actually of bold people. So, you know, he went as far as to even say that, you know, even your haircut doesn't matter. You know, it is very, very basic image of a strong, physical human being. And I think that's where the attention, that's where he wanted to draw the attention to. There's some kind of struggle, a man grabbing a woman by a waist. And you know, and I'm really sorry, but there's a whole other part of the park. Perhaps we'll get a better look at it on the way outside here, because the sun won't be in our eyes. As you can see, the park is just full of these beautiful images. Now this one is quite interesting because it appears to portray an idea of circle of life, maybe a struggle that a man and woman go through as they go through it. But we will actually see another circle of life at the very end. So you see one in the very beginning, one in the very end. It is amazing because, you know, you never quite know what you're gonna see. All these monuments are so different. You know, each one is so complex in its message that I sort of have no idea what they all mean. You definitely have to spend quite a few hours here to try to decipher all of them. Perhaps days, perhaps weeks. Why don't we just walk through and I'll just show you the monuments, and then maybe you can give your own ideas in the comments below about what you think some of them meant, and maybe what are the more favorite of yours. As you can see, Vigeland was not ashamed to portray a human body as it is. This one is actually a park favorite, from my understanding. It's you can actually even see this one in a few memes. The monument is either depicting a man kicking a child, punching a few babies, or perhaps, as some writers have said, signifies a man's struggle with becoming a father and the emotions that it brings out in him. Or maybe it is something completely different. Maybe it's fighting against your age. Here's another one. This is quite nice. Perhaps a stoic, well, it appears to be a stoic older man sort of guiding a younger one into life. You can see a different perception of life on each of their faces. So. Oh, look at that. Here's another one. Here's another monument of, I think, a man being bound by another lizard. Huh. Vigeland really like his lizards. Now there you go. Here's our lizard friend right there, peeking out. So this person seemed to be completely bound. And I see another lizard on that way. Okay, so we have 4 lizards here. Let's go check that one out. Man, these sculptures are just really cool. Yeah, we'll see some of these ones on the way back. I'll put a video so you guys can see all of them together in a row. But here you are again. See, all the monuments have something to do with life, emotions, family, sex, procreation, the struggle for life, the basic things that all of us go through in our lifetime. Okay, here we are. Well, here's another man being bound by yet another lizard. Look at that. This man doesn't even appears to be struggling. And please don't forget that the whole park is not just beautiful sculptures, but even the outlay. It's just so wonderful. Look at that. You have little waterfalls, little ponds. You can just walk around and enjoy the nature if that's what you like. And so once we're done with the bridge and its monuments, we're gonna walk through this little park area and get to the fountain, which is yet another staple of this park. Now here's another interesting part, and now this is just speculation. There's no proof of that or any of the sorts, but something I came when I was researching this is that some people say that Vigeland's soft spot for vitalism and this sort of art, especially made during, of course, World War II and pre-World War II, maybe was close to the art that was venerated in Nazi Germany, that also venerated the natural human condition, the physique. Now, how much is there true to that? It's hard to find. It's hard to say, but it definitely very important to always remember that when you're looking at art, when it was created, you know, put it in the perspective of what were the political, cultural factors that were happening around the creations of all of these monuments, and also looking at what was Vigeland's life like. Where did he get his upbringing, and what kind of religion did he grow up at home, and what did he grew to know as an adult. So all these things are very important to keep in mind. So I just want to mention that, just to point out how important it is to kind of look broader and see, is there connections? Maybe yes, maybe no, who knows, but important to consider. Okay, and here we are at the fountain. Now this is a very unique artwork in itself. As you can see, the main cup where the water is supposed to be coming out of is held by 4 titans. So a very ancient view of the world is portrayed right here. All right, so the first thing that strikes you as you walk up to the bridge is, of course, you can see the titans holding the plate, which is, of course, a very ancient belief that the titans are holding up the earth on their shoulders. And as you walk around the park, let's see if I get the order right. As we walk around the fountain, what is striking is the symbolism of what Vigeland is trying to say. Look at this. So here you see a tree, and each of these little sculptures, not so little, but, and as you go around, you see people get older. So this is nothing else but the circle of life. You can see how you go from babies to children playing. Here's some boys and girls playing in the forest. Here's adolescent boy appears to be swimming, jumping, and then you have in a focal point in the center of it the Titans holding it all up with their hands. And here we go. Here we already see a adolescent girl meeting the boy, perhaps their first time of being intimate with each other. Then you have perhaps a heartbreak. You know, you have a woman looking away in sadness from that same perhaps man. And then you have man embracing that woman in time of need and sorrow. So that's perhaps, you know, the strength of love and relationship. Then here you have man sort of almost like in a cage within this tree of life. Maybe that's men feeling trapped at some point in his life and maybe his surroundings, and being able to get out of the situations that he's in. So you can see, here's another beautiful view of the Titans holding the grail up. Here once again you have a restful or bored female, and then you have a baby. Why? How does that fit into everything else? I don't know. There's definitely a message and a pattern in this, so. As we walk around, there's more intertwined bodies. More bodies. I'll be honest, I don't know what this means. Here's a man with a few babies. Oh, is he angry? Is he saying something? It's hard to say. And you know what, and I'm sorry, I've been sort of neglecting this, but there's also sculptures at the bottom of it. And they're sort of miniature, but again, they represent different interactions, they all have a story. Is it fear? Is it anger? Is it jealousy? Is it boredom? Is it drunkenness? It's hard to tell. Well, this one is kind of interesting. Look at this one. Here you see a man outside the tree. What does that say? Could this be our need to understand, grasp life, sort of reach our arms around it and say, yes, here is life. This is what it means. Could this be what this sculpture is trying to portray? A human search for wisdom and realization of why we're here, perhaps. But eventually, we get to the sculptures that portray old age. As you can see, here's a withered woman. Perhaps she's fearful what might happen to this baby that she's trying to protect. Who will take care of it? Can she take care of it? Here is the old man giving some kind of advice to a young boy. Is he trying to maybe pass on some knowledge that he knows that still won't be enough for this young man to go through all the hardships that he's going to go through? You know, the face is not too happy. Well, let's see. Next we have a man again. Look at this, outside the tree, yet angry and sitting on the ground. Well, this could be. Perhaps that's a realization that in the end of your life, you still find yourself unable to grasp that tree. You sort of fall down. Maybe you get hurt in the process, and maybe this man appears to be crying in agony. Maybe he's crying in agony because you know, he realized that's it, and he didn't achieve maybe what he wanted to achieve, and he is angry. Maybe that, or maybe he is sad to say goodbye to that tree of life. Maybe that's the message. It's hard to tell. It's up to you to decide what you want to see. But what can't be argued with is the last tree that you see here is a tree with a skeleton in it. And that sort of signifies that this is the end of the road. This is the end of the tree of life that we just saw. And the death, as we can see from this angle, is looking at the man as he is, you know, actually the more I talk about it, I think the man is gripping the tree of life because he doesn't want to let go. And we can see the death sort of staring him down and just preparing to launch at this man to end his life. So there you are, a story of life by Gustav Vigeland as portrayed in his circle of trees of life. You know, and I decided, let's just do another circle and just look at these miniature ones, because I don't think they should be overlooked. There's a message to this. There's something to this. It's not just here for no reason. So here we go. Again, basic themes of life. You know, children playing, growing stock, interactions with their family and parents. You know, and perhaps these trees that we saw here are the major cycles in life, but these miniature ones is maybe what's happening in between. Maybe that's more of a, you know, day-to-day symbolism that happens between different ages and stages of our life. You know, they seem to be a little more abstract, a little less monumental than the main tree ones, but they're more down to earth. That's more like an everyday interaction of people sleeping, people maybe standing angrily in front of each other, people being angry and being apart from each other. Here you have a man and babies there, so maybe he's thinking of his kids. Yeah, this is definitely more of a playful way to look at life. Oh, it's kind of cool. What this could be? There's mother and child, and there appears to be fishes swimming towards them. There's a man riding a bear backwards. Woman and man sleeping. Woman and woman embracing each other. A female embracing a unicorn, what it appears to be. A baby sleeping all alone. Two men comforting a woman. Very interesting. Okay, more of these. Oh, here we see what appears to be a dance. They're dancing. Man embracing a woman. Maybe man celebrating his child, maybe after a birth. Maybe man apologizing in this one. Man kicking a dog or a sheep or a wolf. A scared old man looking up. Two old figures sitting next to each other, looking at each other. Oh, it looks like perhaps the death of man. Older woman guiding two people. And here we're getting to the end of it, and let's see what the final ones portray. Here we are, and patting a baby on the head, falling down to sleep. And of course, death spreading two lovers, husband and wife, or relatives apart. And then just natural process of withering, of people buried, and with time becoming just the skeletons. And then you can see as even the skeletons themselves are not forever. They themselves wither down, and soon they become unrecognizable, almost completely disintegrating, and then you have it all start over again with a baby standing on a horn of like a unicorn mammoth or something, and then it all begins again. Wow. Well, that was fascinating. You know, just looking at that fountain, it strikes you. Yes, this whole park has a message. It has to, because that was so well planned out. Like, you can see the journey of a human being through his life, and like I said, Vigeland said that this is his religion. So this is his perception of what life is like, what spirituality is like, what is important in this world. And so we can see that the main theme is the circle of life, the rejuvenation, the rebirth, the naturalism. That's what really we're seeing here, right there behind me. And now we're ready for our main course, which is, of course, the monolith. Okay, here we are, the monolith. It's a little bit hard to see from here because the sun is in our way, but once I get behind it, we'll get a better view at it. Okay, so we are at the monolith, the crescendo of Vigeland's creation. So a little about the monolith. It took 3 masons 14 years to complete the work on it. So you can just grasp the grandeur of the scale of how hard it was to create something like this. It consists of 121 human beings interlocked between each other and striving to go up. One interesting fact is that the further you go, the younger they become. So the people on the very, very top are basically babies or newborns. Why is that? What was he trying to portray? Well, according to his own words, when asked about what does this mean to him, he said, well, this is my religion. So there you have it, straight from the author. What we're looking at is Gustav Vigeland's manifestation of most profound understanding of life, his religion. And what I think is very interesting about this is that it sort of gives you an idea what he thought about the way the world works. The world, according to Vigeland, is not a set place. It's as a circle of life. It is going forward. It is reaching out to above, maybe to the divine. And it is made up of people, and we all are one. And only together can we go up. And that is perhaps what he was trying to portray in this. The chain between generations, the chain between humanity and family and friends, and how together we're able to achieve our goal in life, which is to move on, to go on, and perhaps to stretch our hands out to the divinity and to one day reach it. Wow. Well, that was quite something. You know, you don't often see a personification of somebody's religion, especially when it's so private. You know, it's definitely his own. It's definitely not just Christian or any other sorts of spirituality. It is something that Vigeland nurtured throughout his life. And to see it right in front of you, the complexity of it, the ideas that he put into it, and to see sort of man's heart open up like this in front of you it's a great privilege. So I highly suggest you make a stop here if you can. Now, as we keep walking, the next thing we can see is the sundial. It is huge. And on the sides of it, you see all of the zodiac signs. It's kind of cool because they're all created in Vigeland style. It's not your typical Greek-Roman style, but so you see the animals and the figures from sculptures we just seen portrayed on here as well. And here, of course, you have the sundial itself. Look at that. Very cool. All right, and for our final stop is Vigeland's The Circle of Life. So it is obvious that he wanted to make sure that we end our trip on seeing this. And I want to show you how it looks as you walk up in the rays of sunset. Wow. It's just beautiful. It's very beautiful. You know, actually, I had an interesting thought. I want to ask somebody about this. I had a thought. Is there a time when the sun perhaps shines through a hole in a circle of life? And could that somehow maybe then be reflected upon this? Perhaps, is there a clue to us with the sundial there? I don't know. This is just something that I'm kind of curious about, since Vigeland is putting so much emphasis on the sun. All right, guys, here you go. The Circle of Life, The Cycle of Life by Gustav Vigeland. This is where his park ends. This is the final message that he wanted to leave us with, is that nothing is over. We are all a part of one whole system, part of a circle that rejuvenates and rejuvenates and rebirths itself, and is behind everything there is. As you can see, overlooking the main monument. So here we are, different monuments in front of the main obelisk. So much to see. You know, I feel like if you come here, you ought to spend 2-3 hours at the least. I mean, you can see everything if you come here quickly, but unfortunately I didn't have too much time today. But you know, I'd love to spend a day here. You know, just walk up close, look in the faces of these monuments, try to guess what they're thinking. Like, look at that. What is she thinking? Why is he looking there? What happened? What happened here? Look at that. An old woman crying, being comforted by another old woman. What does it all mean? She looks like she's in shock. Maybe she's seeing something approaching. Maybe perhaps her own death. There's a woman there being crushed by what seems to be like 10 babies, and her husband is there too. Maybe that's the stress of the family life and how the parents sometimes feel, being crushed by responsibility. And here you have, of course, a family embracing each other and embracing their baby as a centerpiece. And I think this is where we're gonna end, because this really is signifying what Vigeland was trying to say, is that the main idea is the life is rejuvenation, and the center, the baby, representing rebirth and continuation, and the family that surrounds him, supports him, and makes it possible. So then, together, we can go up and perhaps meet with the divine.